24 hours earlier, I met Lulu, a struggling mom who couldn't get a job because of her smile.
Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry to bother you. I'm just trying to ask people for $1 to get the bus out of here. I don't know if you have anything, but it's not gonna hurt you.
No. It'll help you more than it'll hurt me.
Thank you. What's your name?
Lulu.
Why'd you help me out?
Because anytime you need help, if I have it, I can, I will.
I then surprised Lulu with $1,000 for her kindness, and then she shared this with me.
This is for you. Here, take it so no one sees it right now. Thank you. Yes. Is it gonna help out?
Oh, man. It's gonna do more than that. I got 5 kids. I'm going through a lot. Not having a job.
The hardest part about getting a job.
The smile.
Really?
I have the smile, so I kind of, they act like they want to hire you, but then when you got a messed up smile, they think about different things, and they say that they don't hire you because of that, but I feel like it is.
What's your dream, Lulu?
To be stable with my kids and make sure that they have everything they need.
The next day, I met up with Lulu to give her the surprise of her life.
Over $42,000 was donated to help you out.
No way.
Yes.
No
So
way.
you're gonna be able to get new teeth and get 42,000, and it's still coming in.
I don't even know what to say right now.
Yes.
I don't even know. I'm like stuck.
Is this something you've been praying for?
Definitely. Definitely.
Welcome to The Aggressive Life. I know you came here for a podcast, but if you don't know the name Jimmy Darts, you're going to know him real quick, and you're going to have tears, and you're going to be inspired, and you're going to be going, oh, it's so good. This is one of the people that makes social media awesome. I mean, there's a lot of things about social media. They're just horrible. It's well documented. It increases the risk of teen suicide, getting shamed on social media and feel like you're not keeping up. It makes us oftentimes feel like we're not measuring up. It's a black hole suck of our energy time. Many of us do social media like me. It's fine, but I'm just going, we all realize there's some dangers to it. And then every once in a while, I run across from somebody, I go, oh, that's why we actually need social media. His name is Jimmy Darts. He is a mega social media influencer. He makes you feel good. He makes you understand the beauty of humanity, how humanity can be beautiful if you take a couple pages out of his book. As a teenager, he amassed a following of 18,000 subscribers on YouTube, mostly for trick shot videos, stunts, party pranks. And then one day, his account went dark. All the videos disappeared. He took a break from the internet for years, moving to Austin, Texas, and working as a waiter. But this man wanted more. He wanted to travel the world, give as much money away as possible, and change people's lives. And he has done that, and he is doing that. He is now known around the globe for random acts of kindness and generosity. His videos are one of the brightest corners of the internet. I might even say the brightest corner of the internet. And they're getting a lot of attention because which one of us, Dirt, doesn't need a little more brightness in our life?
Yeah, that's right.
My gosh,
Exactly.
It's so freaking dark and depressing in our world so frequently. Thanks to him, it's getting a little lighter. He's got 4 million followers on YouTube, 2.4 million on Instagram, 12 million followers on TikTok, and 500 billion likes and impressions. Insane. He's got an amazing story. Enough of me, blah, 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 blah. I got the man right here on the Aggressive Life podcast. Welcome to the Aggressive Life, Jimmy Darts.
What's cooking, baby? I'm glad to be here, and I love the name, Aggressive Life. We're grabbing something, taking it by action, doing something with our life.
Absolutely. Of course you understand why it's called the Aggressive Life. Of course you do. You wouldn't believe how many conversations I have to have with people like, why is it called the Aggressive Life? What is it about aggression? Passive people never understand it. They never do. But you're an aggressive person. This is Aggressive Life is not here to be a feel-good podcast. Though when we do feel good, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
But you, when I've seen your stuff, and we'll talk about some of them, every one moves me to tears. And I just said, this dude made an aggressive move. Like he's doing something no one else thought of. It's amazing.
Yeah, what do they say? Somewhere in the Bible it says something like the violent take the kingdom and take it by force, you know? So it's he's called us to live a life of rest, but a life of advancement, you know? And so that's really my main heart, man, is like, hey, I got 70, 60, 20, maybe 80 years on this planet. And when I get upstairs, I want to be able to look, you know, Jesus in the eye and be like, yeah, I did everything I could with everything you gave me. And I still feel there's a lot more to do and a lot of things left, but I definitely want to take advantage of this life and advance the gospel as fast as possible. And that's the cool thing about social media, like you were saying. Yeah, it is very dark, but the thing is, you know, would you rather give someone no options and just they're just in a white room, or would you rather give them options and they get a choice? You know, God loves options. I definitely know that. In the garden, there was two trees. You know, it was the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And you know, sure enough, the Lord's coming back once the whole world gets the gospel. And what better way for the whole world to get the gospel? What faster, more possible way than social media? So that's really my heart behind everything I do. And this is kind of a way to cast a big net, get a lot of people to be interested and ask questions.
It's so good. So Jimmy, just so people know what we're talking about, we listened to an audio clip earlier to start the podcast. Let's listen to one right now. It's not as good as actually watching it. When you watch it,
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I'm getting moved just the memory of the one that I just watched. But let's do one right now, and then let's talk about it. Let's do the one with the woman who needed springs for her car, but she didn't know that you could be the solution. Here it is.
Hello, ma'am. Sorry to bother you. I'm starting work next week. I'm trying to get these shoes for the job. You don't have anything that could help me get them? It's like a restaurant in there. I'm starting to work next week, so
How much are they?
I think they're like $19,
I
but
got a couple of ones you can
you sure?
have.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I won't have to be asking next week. If you need anything, I can help you out. What's your name?
Dina.
Dina. Great to meet you, Dina. I'm Jimmy.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
There you go.
You are a sweetheart. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you do for work?
I was in nursing 31 years.
What was your favorite thing about it?
When people got discharged and went home.
Here, take this. And what if I told you these shoes were for you?
No?
Yeah, I want to give you these shoes because there's something in it for you. $500 for you.
Are you serious?
Yes. Because you were being awesome to a stranger.
Are you serious?
Yes, I don't need your help. I just wanted to bless you today.
Oh my God.
You're a sweetheart. Is it going to help out?
Yeah, because the leaf springs broke on our car. My husband hurt his back and he's retired from federal security. And yeah, because we weren't going to get the car done. And in fact, I carpooled with one of our neighbors.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's hard being 60 and being on a fixed income.
Little did she know, we made a GoFundMe for Dina and all of your donations started coming in, totaling over $21,000. Let's go tell her. I shared your kindness with my followers and they saw how awesome you were. They donated over $21,000 for you.
You serious?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes. All yours.
Oh, you don't know.
Is that gonna help out?
Yeah. I might be able to get a new jacket.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Oh my gosh! Oh, what the? Wow! Seriously, dude! Oh my gosh! Well, before I ask you about this situation and how you got into it, is there anything else about this woman that you remember that did make your little short Instagram video?
Yes. So this lady is actually she's coming to my wedding.
God, of course she is. Of course you're including her. Oh my God.
Yes, I'm getting married in about 9-10 days, I think it is. So she's gonna be there, and it was absolutely amazing. You know, I caught her in Walmart, asked her for help, and I never know really the stories beforehand. And so when she starts telling me all that she's going through, in my mind, I'm like, I'm like I should be crying right now, but I'm not crying because I know we have a solution, and I know the community's so awesome that her car problem, whatever, is going to be fixed in about 3.5 hours once this is posted. So I was so stoked on that, and she's just an incredible lady, and yeah, we were able to raise over, I don't know, 20 some thousand for her. And so it really took the pressure off her. And who knew $2 would turn into that?
Okay, so let me step way back here. Now that we have a context for what this is, first, how did you get this idea? When did this come to you? Because a couple things pop into me. Like, one, it seems like you're seeding the witness. You're appearing like you're wanting a handout by asking for a couple bucks. Is this sort of a test as to whether or not this person is the kind of person you want to bless, or what's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Lord, a few years back, spoke to me, and I just felt like He said, Jimmy, I want you to get back into videos, but this time do it for me. And so I started making videos, and I was walking in Costa Mesa here in California, and I was like, God, I really want to just help people with my videos. That's all I want to do, is like change people's lives and stuff. But how can I do that where I don't feel weird about it, where I don't feel like I'm the star of the video and it's like, hey, look how cool I am, I'm help. Like I always had a bad taste in my mouth, and I just didn't want to do that. So I'm like, is there a way to do that but still, like, I don't know, just do it and not make it focused on me? And I felt like the Lord spoke to me. He said, Jimmy, I want you to do the kindness test. And I was like, kindness test? What? He's like, I want you to ask people for help, and then when they help you, you help them. I was like, what is this? Some kind of riddle? What's going on here? And I was like, ask someone for help. And I thought about it. I was like, that actually makes perfect sense. Like, because if I do that, it's a way where I'm not just finding whoever runs across the street going, hey, here you go. It's like, it's a way more guided way to find people that really need the blessing, right? Like, everybody today could use $500, right? Everyone, right?
Right.
But there's people that could really use it, and not only could really use it, really deserve it because of the lifestyle they've been living that nobody's ever taken account for, but God has seen, you know?
Well, and they
so-
also have
yeah.
the heart to understand it and receive it. That's like, when I look at these videos,
yeah.
always, folks, there's always, like, the homeless guy was another one. You can see in their minds when you start off saying, hey, I just need $2. Do you have this, or a buck? You could see their eyes processing, going, I don't have a lot to give. I've got a lot of needs.
Yeah.
But I should do. You could see their mind processing, and then they go in and they give the $1, give the $3, whatever. And then when you immediately come back with, okay, well, here's $500. Like, you can get their expression as they're going like, oh, I just got rewarded for my generosity. That's very, very few people are ever generous, so they don't understand what it means to be rewarded for their generosity, right? And they're giving out of their poverty. Right, it's more generous than somebody who makes $1 million a year tithing $100,000. It's more, because that means more to them, right? And so you could see in their face this magical, oh no, I just blessed someone and I'm getting blessed. That's what moves me.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, you know, giving someone money who has money in their hand like this, probably not a great idea. But when you reward someone that's generous, it's a great landing pad for someone to be able to steward the money. Every time, do I know how they steward it? No, but for a large portion of it, they can steward it well because their heart's generous. And so the first video I ever did right after God spoke that to me was this family was coming across the street. Like, they had 3 kids, like, on bikes, mom and dad walking across the crosswalk. And I was like, I got $100. Let me just try this. So I was like, excuse me, do you have any food? I'm starving. Like, could you help me out or get me something? And dad or something, he reached out of his pocket or whatever, and he had a burrito in his backpack. And then the daughter had like $1 in her backpack. So they gave me food and money. And I was like, thank you so much. I actually am not hungry, but because you all were so amazing, I was finding the first person out here just have a heart like an angel. Like, here's $100. And even though it was only $100, the dad was just shook out of his mind. and that video went viral, and then we raised enough money to like pay his rent. And so I was like, this is
Wow.
really cool. This is awesome. My face isn't even in the video. I'm literally shooting at first person, going up to people. Sometimes I'll be at the end of the videos if I dance with someone or whatever to spread a little joy. But yeah, it's a really cool principle idea that the Lord gave me, and it's just been cool to kind of see it take over social media. Now you see these videos all over the place, and it's really cool because yeah, God loves the heart of generosity, and yeah, I mean it's just the people's stories are amazing because when people pass this kindness test, the truth is they weren't kind just in that moment. They've been living a whole lifestyle of kindness, and now they were finally rewarded for it. That's why they break down. It's like they've been doing this with a heart of never being rewarded for it, and all of a sudden this happens. They become a hero, and 50,000 is raised. It really shocks them, and they deserve it.
So it's not clear when you go up and interact with folks. It's obviously clear you have a camera. But is this camera hidden? Is it a GoPro on your
Yeah,
chest?
yeah,
Are you holding out a phone in front of you? Like what is it?
No. Yeah, it's super discreet, and it's like a hidden camera.
Okay.
I don't get into too many details of how I do it, just because yeah, there's a lot of people then that would be like looking for me and this and that, and so I kind of keep it discreet how I do it. But yeah, it's a hidden camera, and anytime somebody has a feeling, like I have a feeling they know who I am or whatever, I'm just like, have a good day, take care. And so I've gotten pretty good at discerning the situation.
Well, I can assure you that no one is going to steal your tricks because nobody's going to do what you're doing. I mean, there's just not a lot of people who are going, how can I generously bless somebody and think through that? That's dude. It's big. The other angle of this. I want to get back into your journey in social media and the aggressive moves you've made with that for sure. But first, I just got this confession to make. I tear up every time I see the videos because I'm so moved by it, and simultaneously, I'm so convicted by it because I pretty much never give to beggars. I pretty much never do. And I've got my reasons, just like everybody else has their own reasons. But yet in Matthew 5:42, Jesus, he says, give to the one who begs from you. I mean, period. Just give to the one who begs from you. And he doesn't say, give him $100. He doesn't say, give to the one who begs you who's worthy. He doesn't say, give to the one. He just says, give. It could be a quarter, $1, $2. And I'm ashamed how many times I've actually had some change or a couple bucks in my pocket, and rather than honor that command, I've thought, well, I might need it for some parking thing later today. Yeah. I always have a reason. And so when I see these people who have real reasons, like I don't right now, there's some things that I would like to buy that I can't buy. Most of us do, but I have no needs. I have no financial needs at all. None. I'm not food scarce. I have plenty of hobbies I pay money for. I have a great home. And yet I'm cynical when it comes to giving to a beggar, and to see these people who really, financially speaking, should not be giving, they give, it wrecks me. And I'm a turd.
100%.
I'm a turd, yeah.
Yeah, man, growing up, my whole life, I always loved just kicking it with people on the streets and just talking to homeless people and sitting down on the curb with them, hearing their stories, sharing a sandwich, whatever. Before I made videos, I did that all the time. Like, it was my favorite thing in the world. It was just so interesting hearing their stories, just, going to get a bite to eat or whatever. And I was always doing this, right? Hanging out with them. And then someone, I don't even remember their name. It's not even important, but I heard some pastor speak or something about like, don't be giving to people that are, begging on the street, this and that. There's more than enough resources for the homeless in cities to get this help. You're hurting them by doing this. Whatever. I heard something like that, like 8 years ago or something. And I was like, oh, wow. And so my heart got kind of like, I took that advice, and it was like 2 to 3 years, I didn't talk to anybody like on the street, anybody that was asking for money. I would just kind of be like, oh yeah, and just like walk past them and like and not look at them because I was like, oh, I don't want this. I was told I shouldn't be helping these people, right? And I was outside of this movie theater late at night with my brother-in-law and my sister. And this homeless gentleman came and like asked for some help or for some funds or whatever, like, to get something to eat. And my sister and them, I think they gave him like a $20 bill or whatever and prayed for him. And I was just like, oh, like you shouldn't have given him money, like this and that. And then I went home and I was like, what in the world did I believe like a couple years ago at that conference thing I was at? Like, what did I hear? Like, this is not good. This is not the Jesus. Like, I think I was deceived. And what I realized was, man, it's so good when I saw so much fruit when I was giving people, $5, $10, getting a sandwich with them, hearing their story, talking to them, really interacting with these people. I was like, I need to get back into that. So I started just immediately just like hanging out with homeless people, buying them food or whatever, talking to them. And it's like, man, yeah, if you're driving by in your car and you throw $1,000 out the window and drive off, like, all right, maybe not the best idea.
Right.
But if you're having
Right.
conversations with people, you can sit and talk with them. Man, we're so called to minister, to be able to do that. Like, God's equipped us to not have to run from problems, but to run into problems. And so rather than seeing something be like, oh, I can't handle that, it's like, no, walk up to them and talk to them, and just see what happens from there. And use discernment, Sometimes you're not, supposed to give to someone if you get a weird feeling about it. And sometimes you are. It's not like a certain rule that every time you got to go and this and that. But that was an interesting journey I went through.
Yeah, in my case, the reason I give isn't a reflection on that person; it's a reflection on me. I'm tired of giving, so I tell myself. I'm not saying it's true. I tell myself I'm tired of being nuisanced by somebody who pumps up. My heart just isn't soft and broken towards people who are in hurting situations. It says something about me, and I don't like what it says about me, and that's why part of what you're doing is so good. So let's go back to your beginning, Jimmy. You mentioned what you did before, and there was a shift where you did some social media stuff, and then when you got back into it, it was very different. So before we unpack what you're doing right now, just take us back to the beginning, the early part of your social media fame, if you would. What was that about? What did you used to do?
Yeah. I just, just a kid in high school, just messing around and just having fun with friends. And so I did a series of party college videos where I'd go to colleges and see what college could party the hardest and have them compete. I would do crazy prank videos, like go on a little freeway, like a 4-lane intersection, and just pretend to fall asleep standing up, back traffic up for miles. I'd have like a little security badge, and I'd arrest people on golf courses for using the wrong balls and like all types of crazy stuff. That really just got a kick out of was funny, but just definitely I. Yeah, so what happened was I was like 18 years old and I'm walking in my house at my parents' house, and I'm like, whose voice is that on the TV? It sounds like an angel and like Michael Jackson singing. Like, well, that's the most beautiful, powerful voice I've ever seen. And my mom goes, oh yeah, that's Billy Graham. He was preaching at a stadium event when your dad got saved. And I was like, Billy Graham? Like, I've never heard anyone talk with so much authority. So I went up to my room, just, a little embarrassed to be curious about those things. And I looked at Billy Graham up and saw a video called Choices. And it was so intense. It said, man, choose the life you want to live for yourself, selfishly. The destination can be hell for that. Or do you want to live for the kingdom and serve people and, follow Jesus and live selfless? And I got so convicted right there. I got on my knees in my room, repented, gave my life to Jesus. And my pastor then called me into his office like a few weeks later, and he said, Jimmy, I hear you're like a Christian now and you got this testimony. I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I'm looking at your videos right now and none of this lines up with what you believe, just so you know. So if you really believe, you need to go home and delete this right now. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, my whole life is there. Like, my grades aren't that good. Like, I've invested everything into YouTube and just doing that. And I went home and I was like, he's right, like, you got to be all in. You can't play this thing like a little game. Like, I'm either in or I'm out, like I can't imagine myself being 90 on my deathbed being like, dang, I shouldn't have surrendered everything. It's like I can only imagine myself being like, man, I'm so glad I surrendered everything to Jesus. So I went there and deleted all my videos, everything. And it was a crazy feeling. But once I did that, I knew I was all in. I had no plan B. And around that same time period, I really crazy situation happened. I was out partying in the woods with some friends and stuff, and I had these socks that had Jesus on them, a little picture of Jesus from Urban Outfitters that my mom gave me for Christmas. And I was out there in Minnesota in the woods, and was running. There was a fire out there. We had like a bonfire. I was jumping around it and like just being a knucklehead, whatever. But on the way home, I actually that night had no alcohol, no drugs, nothing. I've never done drugs in my life, but I had no alcohol that night specifically. And on the way home, I was like, oh crap, my socks have like holes in them and they're ripped up. My mom's gonna know I've been at this party tonight. So I was super worried. I get home to our house and I sneak upstairs and I have the socks in my hands and I'm just like, man, I don't know, like maybe God can do something about this. So I'm like, Jesus, please help me, help these socks. Didn't even know what I was saying. I hid my socks in my underwear drawer, went to bed. Next morning, I woke up early before my mom came upstairs to do laundry, whatever. And I looked and I grabbed the socks and there's no holes in them. They're brand new. And right then, the Lord just speaks to me and he goes, Jimmy, I want to be your friend above everything else. And I was like, what in the world? Like, I thought he would have wanted me to get in trouble for being at this party. Like, he had my back. What's going on here? And it
Wow.
wasn't that he was affirming my lifestyle, saying, hey, keep going doing this. But he was saying, hey, I want to be your Lord, but I also can be your friend. And I'm not this super strict, mean religious person you thought I was. And so right then, I just my heart just cracked, and I was like, Jesus is so dope. This is crazy. He wants to be my father, my friend. Like this is crazy. And yeah, man, that was really a crucial part of my journey. And after that happened, I went to Hawaii and I did YWAM out there. It's like a youth missionary movement.
Youth with a mission.
Yes, I did that, and I had horrible scoliosis my whole life. So my spine was crooked. My left leg was about an inch shorter than my right leg, and I used to walk really crooked. And it just, I went to doctors all the time to try to do things, and the only thing they recommended was that they lengthen my Achilles tendon so my legs were the same length, and then my spine would balance out. So it was really a horrible like pain. Like I'd have people just punch me in my back to relieve the pain. Sure enough, I get out there and this guy goes, hey Jimmy, can I say a prayer for you? Like I think God might want to heal you. And I was like, yeah bro, do what you gotta do. So I sit down in this chair, man. He holds out my legs and he goes, check this out, in Jesus name right now, leg come out and be healed right now. My leg starts violently shaking, grows straight out to match the length of my other leg, my spine completely straight, no more scoliosis. And from that point on, if I was for Jesus 2 months ago, now I was locked in so much where if every Christian in the world left the faith, I wasn't leaving it. And so that man is really the foundation of what I do now. It's really a strong faith background. It's being so encountered by love the way God treated me. Now I want that love to get on to other people. And that's really my heart is like, man, I saw how I was living, how dark I was living and what I was living like. And he came and rescued me. So now when I see somebody else, I can't for a second be like, man, they're too far gone. Or man, this like, no, it's like that same grace he wants to extend to them. And if I can be a part of, bridging that together or showing them that, like that's what I feel called to. And then I stumbled upon doing videos, and it just so happens to be the perfect combination of doing all this.
So let me jump back to some of the things you're talking about, working these out. I want to let you go without interrupting you all the time, so I've been taking notes on you. So let's go back to your original counts and your pastor. When you told me what your original counts were, like arresting people on a golf course, I thought that was incredibly funny and incredibly innocent. It's not like you were, at least the videos you told me about, it wasn't like you were, going to strip clubs or, breaking somebody's windshield. What about those videos did your pastor think was unholy and you needed to disavow yourself from?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we got to take our lives very seriously and very fun and very full of joy, you
Yeah.
know? And so I love comedy. I love having fun, but never when it's at the expense of someone else. That's where, yeah, it might look
Okay.
innocent to our worldly minds, but it's really tearing down character, making someone look bad, whatever. And that's just so anti-kingdom. It's just not what we're designed to do
Okay.
at all. And heaven's not proud of that stuff at all. And so we're not advancing the kingdom. We're not doing anything. And so, yeah, man, I used to cuss a lot. I used to
Got it.
mess with people in these videos. And like, I'd go up to people one time for, I think it was like, what was it? April Fool's Day. I was carrying a donkey, like a pet donkey around in my backpack. And I was like, hey man, do you want to kiss my blank? And then they'd be like, what'd you say? I'd be like, oh, just kidding. Like, can you kiss the donkey? And just, I was stretching it and doing all these things, man. And it just wasn't what God has called me to do. I was reading this book. It was very powerful on a whole nother level where it was someone that, became a pastor because it was a job, this and that. And they did that and they thought they were killing it. And then they got to eternity. And God's like, I called you to be, a stockbroker and I had this for you, but you kind of chose your own path in life into this, or someone else chose that life, but was called to be a pastor. And so I think it's not to over spiritualize anything by any means, but to definitely make sure what you're doing is something you feel called to, and it has to line up with the word.
Yeah.
I don't care how creative or whatever it gets. If you're doing something that, you couldn't imagine Jesus doing or whatever, like you maybe should just take a second look at it.
So it wasn't all just innocent stuff. There was some biting negative stuff in there, and I had to get away, like negative biting. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Another thing you mentioned, I just wanted to ask about is, I hear this from people. Like if I recount a story of what God did inside of me that's in the miraculous, or somebody else does it, there's a part of the room that goes, wow, isn't God good? He still works and moves. And then there's another part of the room that goes, well, it must be nice because God hasn't done that to me. And no wonder you love God because he's done what you wanted him to do. And meanwhile, I'm stuck over here in loser land. So when you tell that story about the leg and your spine, I'm personally inspired, and love it. But what would you say to the person who goes, well, I don't have a miracle. If I had a miracle, I'd be bold like you are. But I haven't had that miracle. So what about me?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing Jesus says in the gospel where he's like, blessed is like the generation and people that believe without even needing a sign, So it's such a beautiful, powerful faith for somebody to still be walking it out, still be pursuing the Lord, and they haven't even received a miracle or a healing yet. That's incredible. For me, yeah, I'm thankful I had it, but it's a huge responsibility now when you see something like that, And so, yeah, I just think we got to get away from those mindsets, away from victim mindsets. I had horrible pain in my back in the snap, but I was never like bitter or mad at God or why hasn't it happened yet? Like my mom would drag me to healing church services and nothing would happen. And I'd go home, my back would hurt twice as bad. But I never grew a heart posture of, dang it, I can't believe it. It's like you just got to keep yourself tender, childlike. And the thing I would say is like, first believe that God can do it, right? It's like he's either a joke, a scam, fake, or Jesus is real. God made us. We have tremendous purpose. And if he made the Grand Canyon, of course he can heal your hip or heal your knee or whatever. And what my favorite quote I've heard is by like Dan Mohler's where he says, I don't let my experience change the word. I let the word change my experience, right? So a lot of people will read the word and go, lay hands on the sick and you'll be healed, or believe and you'll be healed. Okay, and they go do it. And they'll pray for someone. Are you healed? Nope. All right, note to self. Not every time God wants to heal, blah, blah, blah. It's like we're now adjusting the Bible based off our experience versus like, wait, I didn't see someone healed. Man, well, God still loves you. I'm growing in my faith. I'm trying to figure this thing out. I'm going to keep praying for you and keep believing. I believe it's impossible to pray nothing to happen.
Right.
And I go back to the word and I say, God, just show me what I'm not seeing. I want to step in and I want to believe these things and just doing that. And man, I've seen just so many people healed. I haven't seen everyone I've prayed for healed, but I've seen a lot of people. Just the other day, literally like 3 days ago, I went and did a video with this lady who her husband was dying of cancer. And she said, it's my second husband that is going to die. Her first husband had died of cancer, I think, and her second one was going to die of it. And her son is standing there. This kid, he's like 17 years old, right? And his dad is the first one that died, and then she got remarried. And so I'm like, man, I'll be praying for your dad. I was able to bless him with some funds. We did a GoFundMe, and I was like, I'll be praying that he gets healed and this and that. And the lady was a Christian, and she goes, I'm a Christian, I believe, and we're praying, but my son doesn't. After his dad died, he stopped believing and just doesn't have faith for this stuff. And I was like, all right, like I could sit here, try to convince him, bring out a PowerPoint, this and that, but that's not what God wanted to do in that moment. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna pray for your husband to be healed. But I asked the kid, I said, do you have any pain in your body, bro? And he goes, yeah, my meniscus, like my knee's all messed up, and it hurts a lot from some accident I had. And I was like, all right, like, can I pray for it to be healed? And he goes, sure. So I sit there, I pray. I'm like, Jesus, I pray you heal his knee up, and Lord bless him. I say, check it out. He's like, dang, it's way better. There's still a little pain, but this is crazy. Pray one more time. He's fully healed. And then he tells me this. He goes, this is crazy. Now I'm going to be able to pass the physical to be a fireman, because he was just graduating high school.
Wow.
He's 20 years old,
Wow.
and he wasn't going to be able to be a fireman if he didn't pass his physical. Now he's stoked. She texts me 3 days later. We're crying. My son's like super open to believing now and all this stuff. And so, my favorite thing is, rather than argue and having debate with someone, it's like, let's just get our heart posture back to humility, and then let's just believe God's the best, get away from a victim mentality. And if you don't get healed, it's not because God doesn't love you. It's like, there's so many things about him I don't understand. But one thing's for sure, I'm never going to have a bad view of him, and I'm never going to blame him for things the enemy's doing. The worst thing in the world is when the enemy does something and then tries saying, hey, the Lord did that. And now you're worshiping this like bipolar God that like blessed me with a new job but gave my aunt cancer. It's like, what's going on here? But when I realized, man, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, Jesus came to give life and life abundantly, and I'm not going to give Jesus credit for things the enemy's doing.
Well said. Flying K Ranch. Today's episode is brought to you by them because I believe they're producing some of the most mouth-watering, healthy burgers, steaks, roasts I've ever had. They're in Findlay, Ohio. Flying K raises their beef with no hormones or antibiotics, so you know you're getting the most natural product. It's a family business partnering with state and national certification boards to ensure both cattle and customers are happy. You can find out more, place your orders at FlyingKRanchAngus.com. That's FlyingKRanchAngus.com. I'm liking it a lot. Taking care of your health isn't always easy, but it should be at least simple. That's why for the last 2 years, I've been drinking AG1 every day, no exceptions, at home, on a hunting trip, camping off my motorcycle, no exceptions. It's just one scoop mixed in water once a day, every day, and it makes me feel ready to get moving. That's because each serving of AG1 delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more. It's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. I like to have it in the morning. I have a 12 ounce of water, so right off the bat, I'm helping my hydration every single morning. This is the one product, if I had to recommend one, I'd recommend this one to elevate your health. It's AG1, and that's why I partnered with them for 2 years. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1 year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/aggressive life. That's drinkag1.com/aggressive life. Get yourself some. I was just reading this morning in my time with God, the story in the Gospel of Mark where Jesus prays for somebody and it doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he prays again.
Yeah.
And then it works. And for me, that's always been an encouraging thing, because it shows that if Jesus had to pray twice,
exactly,
I shouldn't necessarily give up hope when I prayed 14 times or 15 times, because he's easily 100 times more proficient than I am in prayer and in power. So not giving up, I think, is a key thing. I think another one too, where many of us get tripped up, because we do get, I don't, but I know a number of people do get bitter when somebody else has a miracle and they don't. Like my wife had a miracle 7 years ago. She had a stroke, couldn't move, couldn't talk, shouldn't have recovered, and she was playing tennis later that week, and the medical staff said, we've never ever seen that. We had people praying and fasting. It was a crazy ass miraculous recovery. And we interact with a lot of people now who have had stroke, because they reach out to us, and a number of them actually get really bitter that we have a miracle story and they don't.
Yeah.
And I say to them, look, it's why it's called a miracle. It doesn't happen all the time. It's rare. You can't strong arm it. But here's the thing. Jesus talks about having a mustard seed of faith.
Yeah.
You don't need a watermelon of faith, just a mustard seed that just cracks the door that if you ask, something might happen.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's so important, stewarding our hearts, pulling the weeds out of the garden, making sure we never enter into bitterness, any of these things, because those are just breeding grounds for bad things. And to always remember the biggest miracle of all, the most powerful miracle, is the miracle of salvation. You could still end up going downstairs with a healed knee and a healed, shoulder. It's like the miracle of salvation is the main thing, and all those other things fall into that. But
right, when that's what Jesus says in Mark 6, it was like I said, he could heal no sick people in their midst, but people came to know Christ, which was the biggest miracle of all. That was it. I'm just talking with you. I didn't plan on quoting all kind of Bible verses and having a deep spiritual conversation here with you, but I'm loving it, and it makes sense, because it would take somebody with your worldview and your spiritual passion to have your heart, to have the idea that you had, and to do the things you're doing for these folks in that video. That's the aggressive life, right? You're out moving, you're doing, and it's coming from not a place of, I got to prove myself, I've got to power up, I've got to be a creative person. It just comes out of the natural walk you have with God. It's inspiring, Jimmy. Well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, this has been a blast talking, and 100%, involve God in what you're doing, be excellent in it, and then bring the practicality in it to execute, I think that's one of the great ththings I learned from my dad. My dad's old school. He runs a restaurant. He's owned it, and he works like 80, 90 hours a week every year for the last 30 some years. And I told him, he said, Jimmy, what do you want to do with your life? And I told him, I said, I want to go around the world, give away as much money as possible, change people's lives, bring them to Jesus. I just don't know how to do it. Like, that's what I want to do, though. But it's nowhere you can apply on like Indeed for a job like that. And my dad just looks at me and goes, all right, start tomorrow, go do it. And I was like, oh, what do you mean you just start tomorrow, go do it? So I went to my room kind of offended, and I was like, start tomorrow? Like, what is he talking about? Like, and I was like, dang, maybe he's right. Maybe I've over-spiritualized it so much where I'm like, the right door has to open, this and that, where maybe God's given me all the gifts and abilities. I just need to step out and do it. And just bring the practicality to what God's called me to do. And so the next day I got my little Honda, drove across the country, started making these videos. But 100%, it's like involving the Lord and then making it practical and just going and doing it. I like to say all the time that the world has amazing drive, but no like eternal purpose. And the church has amazing eternal purpose and sometimes no drive. And it's like, we can combine those together. We'll see something really powerful.
We should end in prayer right now, but we're not going to. You keep stimulating. Oh my gosh. Seriously, welcome to my life. Say that again.
Yeah. The world has amazing drive and no eternal purpose. And the church has amazing eternal purpose and no drive. If we can bring those things together, we'll see a church that's excellent, and we'll be able to, be at the top of these influential mountains and be able to usher in the kingdom,
Damn. Oh my gosh. My God. Dirt. Who is this guy?
Woo. Come on, Jimmy.
Are we actually interviewing Jesus right now? Is Jesus actually on the podcast, Dirt? Wow. Dag. Dude. Okay, let me go another layer down. So you talked about your dad who's in the restaurant business. How does this work as a business, or how are you paying your bills? You're given this is a huge step of faith for you when you're giving out money and nothing's coming in.
Yeah.
I assume you're getting something coming in somewhere. Where, or is that just monetized ads on your social media channels, or what's that look like?
Yeah, so the way I started this, I had few $1,000s saved up from working at my dad's restaurant, being a server, waiter, dishwasher. I always invested my birthday money and all that, and so it just never got
Let's
into.
stop right there. Stop.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I can't wait for this one. Let's stop here. Like, this is one of the things about you. If you want to be different, you have to act different. So what you just talked about, there's people who make a lot of money who don't have a few $1,000s in savings. But you've been marching to the beat of a different drummer. You haven't been spending the way everybody else spends. You've actually been saving, and it puts you in a position to make an aggressive move. I think this is really good for us to understand. Everyone, make sure you pick up these cues. You can't live and spend like everybody else if you want an extraordinary life. If you want to be like everybody else, you're going to have a very ordinary life. So I don't want to blow by that. You were doing extraordinary things that weren't social media worthy long before this happened, that formed your character and set you up.
Yeah.
So affirmation, way to go. So you got thousands of dollars when other people have nothing. When other people have thousands of dollars of credit card debt, you got thousands of dollars because you've lived beneath your means. And then keep going.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So ever since I was like 7 years old, I was working at my dad's restaurants in the summers and stuff, and just saved, invested my money. And, by the time I graduated, I'm 18, 19, 20, around that age, I had about, 30 some $1,000 saved up and invested with no debt. And I felt the Lord said to me, he said, Jimmy, I want you to give away 10 grand. And so I'm like, what in the world? Like, are you kidding me? So I ignored that for like 2 weeks, and I kept hearing it come back. And I kept this story private for a very long time until I started writing this book and stuff and wanted to share some of these things. But sure enough, I'm like, give away 10 grand. What are you talking about? And I'm like, dang it. I got to make sure money's not idle. Generosity is never a bad idea. I need to obey the Lord. And it's just him making sure he's got that lordship over my life. And I'm not just saying it and not really serious about it. So sure enough, I didn't even ask my dad or anyone because I knew they'd be like, what? You're going to give away like 40% of your bank account? What are you talking about? So I withdraw this money, and I knew exactly who to give it to. It was this guy who traveled around the country, used to be a pastor in our town. So I go put it all in an envelope. I didn't even donate it so it could be a write-off, whatever. I just put it in cash, gave it to this guy, and he just thought it was a thank you note. And he just goes, oh, thank you so much. And then he gets back to his hotel room, and I said, before I left, I said, don't ever thank me for this. Don't ever bring this up again. Just take this and have a good day. And so I didn't hear his reaction for like 4 years. And sure enough, I give this envelope of $10,000. And while I do that, I had an Amazon business that never was successful. I was trying to sell products online, different things, and it failed every time. Well, after I give away this $10,000, my Amazon business takes off. And it didn't take off in some nuts way, but it took off in a way that was making like $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And so that allowed me to leave the restaurant I was working at and be able to travel around and have a little bit of finances come in to support me, doing things like that. Well, sure enough, I meet up with this pastor like 4 years later, and he goes, yeah, I came in and told my wife. She sat down the bed, and I pulled out $100 bills, and she almost tipped over. And what we call that envelope is the bottomless envelope. He said, we went around the country giving to different people we'd see who needed this, had a flat tire, someone who needed this. And every time we gave, someone else would come and like give us money, and the envelope is like still full. It's like, we've never been able to outgive the envelope. And I was like, that is so cool, man. Like, not only for me to hear, but for you to hear, for your sound guy working there, for everyone. There's so many testimonies and stories in your life that you will never hear of till you get to eternity. Like, you have no clue the impact you've had until, you really see what's going on. And so that blew my mind away. And so with those funds, I traveled around the country, and I was taking homeless people parasailing, buying people food, doing all this stuff, having a blast. And sure enough, I'm like out of money. And I'm like calling my mom to be like, hey, I'm trying to get some McDonald's. Like, could you like send me a couple bucks? And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I want to keep giving and doing this, but I don't have any funds at all to do it. So how do I do that? And that's when I was like, all right, so I'm going to, go to Florida. And so I went to Florida and tried selling security systems. Never did get one sale. And then I was like, that's it. I got to go all in on making videos. And so my first brand deal ever was I got paid to do this scratch off book where I took random people on dates. So, but not dates where I was like, holding their hand or like ever kiss them. It was more just like shooting these commercials for this company, but in a family friendly style way. So those are my first brand deals. And then from there, it just took off. And now, yeah, I've done, commercial stuff for like Visa, the NFL,
Oh,
like
wow.
all these different teams. So I do brand deals, promoting brands, stuff like that. And just have stayed investing and living below my means. I still got my little Honda. Yesterday, it was funny. I was in the parking garage, and I go down there, and there's a cop next to my car. And the guy next to me, he's like, you haven't seen a black Mercedes anywhere, have you? He's like filling out a police report. I'm like, dang, I think my neighbor got his car stolen. It's like, I'm glad I got a Honda. They don't want to steal that. And so yeah, man, just living below my means and investing when I can. And sure enough now, so much traction comes in from these videos and the GoFundMe's, where it's really the crowdfunding that's donating to the people.
Right. Well, it is, your life is making so many things in the Bible just pop alive, right? You reap what you sow. You're doing things that you're later on getting. There's the whole thing of testing. You passed a bunch of tests. That's one of the things about God and Abraham. When Abraham goes to sacrifice his son, when he raises his knife, to kill Isaac, God says, "No, stop, don't do it, don't do it."
100%.
And the big words was, here's what God says. We don't like this, but it's true. He says, "Now I know that you serve me more than your son."
Yeah.
What God's saying is, you just added to my database. I understand your heart. People always go, well, God understands my heart. Yeah, you know how he understands your heart? By what you do. Not what you think what your heart is, by what you do. That's how he knows your heart.
Yeah.
That is your heart. And so the things that you've done have indicated who your heart is, and it's set you up for God to go, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
That guy. I can do some unusual stuff in that guy. I can put some unusual resources in that guy's account because I've tested him and I know. So well done, dude. Fantastic.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that, yeah, you're cheating on your wife and you're like, well, she knows my heart. It's like, what do you mean? Your actions show your heart,
Yeah. Right.
And so the only reason, I kind of share that story of when I gave that 10,000 away and that all happened when that was a big portion of what I had saved up, is that really showed me to never be scared of generosity. And that really just broke the back of fear and and I was just like, wow, like generosity, like the Lord will never, he'll bless you for that, And so it's a real principle. You don't even have to be a Christian or a believer to do that. If you live a generous lifestyle, like you will be provided for, like whether your heart is bad or not, like literally it's an actual principle. If your heart's great, candy, that's even better. But it's really amazing when you're generous. I mean, imagine trying to put $100 in my hand right now. It just fall to the ground. But if my hand's open to give, I can also receive. And so when the Lord sees that, I really think he's wanting to pour out his spirit as much as possible. He's wanting to, flow through people to heal other people. He's wanting to pour finances on someone to bless people in their community. But yeah, what he's really looking for is when I give them a little, what happens? When I start flowing through them and they're praying and seeing miracles happen, do they think they're now Jesus? And do they now have this, like, if I continue to do that, that's a bad path. If I pour finances on somebody and they start getting prideful and greedy, it's like, dang it, heaven wanted to keep that faucet going, but now they're like, dang it, we got to send this guy through a humility crash course. So as long as we can steward our heart, heaven will continue to pour more out.
All right, so I got two more questions for you, just two. One is, what's next for Jimmy Darts?
Yeah.
Is it just more? Is this? You think this is your gig? That's the for the foreseeable future, or are you building to something else that God's given you a vision for?
Yeah, there's a whole lot to my story, different parts of it, but one thing that was really powerful before I started making these videos or anything, about 5 years ago, a lady came up to me in a church and knew like nothing about me. I wasn't making content, and she came up to me and she said, "I have a prophecy, a word for you." And I was like, "All right." So I pull out my voice recorder on my phone. She goes, "God's going to put a root system of people around you. You can trust this and that. And in the next like 5 years, this is going to happen, and you're going to have your own TV show." And I was like, "What in the world are you talking about? TV?" I was like, "What? I got like 8 followers. I don't even make videos. What are you talking about?" And so I held on to that word. And sure enough, man, it's been like 5.5 years. And we got a TV show coming out. That's what I was working on yesterday with a couple of people, with Jason Kennedy, Taylor Lautner. We're coming together with a bunch of other celebrities, and we're making this a kindness TV show where we're going to be changing people's lives at a whole bigger scale, doing wild, amazing stuff. So that's going to be really exciting, really powerful. And it's so cool seeing like prophetic words fulfilled. So that's happening. I'm writing a book right now that I'm really excited about, because when you're reading a book, just like when you're in a movie theater, it's like your full attention is there. There's like no cell service when you're in a theater. And so you walk out getting an experience. And with this generation, all this stuff, I feel like there's so many 17-year-old, 16-year-old me's out there. And I want them to be able to read a book to where they see, wow, this is a story. God's fun. He's amazing. He's like incredible, and like read these testimonies, and maybe they'll like be open to knowing him and want to pursue that. And so that's something I'm excited about. And really just, yeah, man, I feel like doing anything I can do to help change people's lives, but now eventually move to doing that, but change communities' lives, cities' lives, and all those types of things. So I'm really just excited to see where God has me next. And if I knew the next 20 years of my life, that would mean I was Lord over my life, and I'm not. So tomorrow, who knows, I might be working at the grocery store. You never know what God's going to call me to do.
Right.
So I just got to be obedient to that.
So, Jimmy, if someone wants to find you, reach out to you, follow you, just give us an advertisement for yourself, where they can go, and wrap up in that as well. If there's anything you wanted to say that I didn't give you the question to say it.
Yeah.
Just say it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on, Brian. So if you guys want to find me and see where my stuff is, if you just look up Jimmy Darts on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, you'll be able to see that stuff there. And it's been a pleasure having this conversation, talking with another man of God, getting stirred up, getting encouraged. And anyone out there who's watching, like, your sphere of influence is so powerful, like, I may have a reach to these people, but I guarantee you got 50 people in your life that I'll never meet. Brian will never meet. So many people will never meet. And that's your sphere of influence. You're responsible for that. So take pride in that. Be an example of Christ in that. And don't underestimate the job you're currently at, to be like, man, if I only get this job, then I'll shine like the Lord and I'll pray for people and do this. Like, no, like, no matter where you're working at, if you're working at like a kiosk at a mall, or you're the manager of a basketball team, whatever you're doing, just invite the Lord into that space, have conversations with people, pray for them, encourage them. Some of my favorite years of my life is when I was a waiter in Texas and Minnesota, being able to talk to people, pray for them. I have probably way cooler testimonies when I was living that life than I am doing social media. I have probably 50,000
Right, because your testimonies are lame right now.
Yeah.
They're totally lame. Maybe those ones are good, but the current ones, they just suck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. You know, God's done amazing things, but yeah, I think just like never underestimate where you're at. Have a blast, and if you take pride and joy in your job you're at, like God will open up the door for what your destiny is.
Well, dude, you talked about stirring each other up. I think you stirred me up, and all of our audience say, I don't know that I stirred you up at all. I just got to tell you, man.
You got me jacked up. I got to get in the gym after looking at you. Your shirt's about to pop. Yeah.
Am I causing you to stumble?
No,
Is that what I'm doing?
You don't got to worry about that. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, this has been awesome. Hey, folks, look, let's get the big ideas here. Okay, very few of us are going to have a social media following with millions and millions and millions of people. Very few. There could be some, but here's what we can all take away. Start living your life in the small ways right now that are outside the norm. The Bible says, don't despise the day of small beginnings. Jimmy's story is small beginnings, and every time you have opportunity to take an aggressive step, he took one. And it was maybe a small one, but it was a step. You are important. God can do important things through you, but you got to get moving in faith. Amazing. We'll see you next time on The Aggressive Life. Thanks for joining us on this journey toward aggressive living. Find more resources, articles, past episodes, and live events over at brightest.com. My new books, repackaged edition of The 5 Marks of a Man and a brand new 5 Marks of a Man tactical guide are open right now on Amazon. If you haven't yet, leave this podcast a rating and review. It really helps get the show in front of new listeners. And if you want to connect, find me on Instagram at Brian Tome. The Aggressive Life is a production of Crossroads Church, Cincinnati, Ohio.